The movie begins in 1975. We find ourselves in front of an orphanage in Spain, where all those children stay who have nobody in this world. There was a girl named Laura, who was playing with her friends. Now after some time, somebody adopted Laura. And we directly see the time after 30 years in the story, where Laura got married and now she lives with her husband and 7-year-old son, Simon. Recently, Laura had bought that orphanage again where she spent her childhood because she wanted to make that place like before, adopt some special children and take care of them. In a few days, this family shifts there. Now one day when Simon was playing in that new house, that is, the orphanage, he tells his mom and dad about his 2 friends. He said that they are my invisible friends, only I can see them. Now his mom and dad thought that since he is a child, he must have made friends in his imagination, so they ignored Simon's words. The following day, Laura shows Simon a cave on the shore of the sea. Now Simon goes inside to check it out, while Laura waits for him standing outside. However, for a long time when Simon does not come out, Laura goes inside to find him. She found that Simon was talking to someone there alone. But when Laura checked, she found nothing but the footprints of the children there. On the way back home, Simon throws a lot of shells on the way so that his new friend follows the shells and comes to his house. The next day, an old woman comes to meet Laura. She says that I am a social worker and also work as a doctor. When Laura brings him inside the house, the social worker starts talking about Simon and showing Laura his file. We came to know that Simon is not their blood but adopted son. She said when you had adopted Simon, he had some disease before that which I used to treat. Now because he is a doctor, I also want to treat him. But Laura says that my husband is a doctor also, and I want Simon to be treated not outside, but in our custody at home. So she takes the file from the social worker and sends it to him, to confirm the disease. When Laura checked the file, her report was positive. Now Laura did not want Simon to know that he is an adopted son and he has a disease. So Laura hid the file in a locker in the closet and kept the key with her. That night, Laura woke up because of a loud noise. The noise was coming from the shed outside her house. So Laura went to check there. She sees that there is a social worker who is searching in the shed as if she is looking for something very important there. Laura became frightened. She quickly wakes her husband and told him about it. Both went to check, but by the time they went there, the social worker had left. The next morning when Laura opened the door of the house, she saw shells lying in a line outside. And these are the same shells that Simon dropped on his way back from KFC. Simon tells Laura about his 6 friends that they are all invisible. Very soon I will also become like them and then I will always be with them. Laura finds it strange. Then she sees Simon's drawing where he had also made pictures of those 6 invisible friends. One of them was also wearing a mask. All the children had something in their hands. Laura asks Simon, showing the drawing what is in their hands. So, Simon says my friends steal other people's things and hide them. Then, the owner of that thing has to find his thing with the help of clues. If a person finds his thing with the help of clues, then they fulfill a wish of that person. This is a game and now I am going to play that game with my friends. Here I have to find my coins, which my friends have hidden somewhere. So now Laura also understands this game and gets ready to support Simon, because she felt that Simon is going to play with me. And by setting all the clues, she must have hidden her coins somewhere. Now through the clues, she first went to Simon's room, then to the garden, then to another room, then to the kitchen. After which Simon got a key. This key came of the very same closet from where Laura had hidden Simon's file. Upon opening the closet with the same key, it was found at the middle part of his coin files. Simon is happy about the coin, but Laura takes his file and starts lecturing him. At that, Simon says that I already know that I am your adopted son. I have a disease and I will die soon. Listen to this. Laura lost her mind. She screams at Simon and asks, who told you this? Now Simon says that Thomas did, who is his invisible friend wearing a mask. When she hears this, Laura is absolutely shocked and upset. The very next day, a party was held for those special children whom Laura was going to adopt. She came to invite Simon to the party. When she asked me to take Simon to Thomas's house, Simon refused to come with her. She refused to take him back, saying that "We can't go, son. There is a party at home." And this matter was discussed by both of them. Now when Simon became very stubborn, Laura slaps him. But later, she was also sad. But Simon got upset and left. After a while, when Laura looks for him in the house to convince him, he is nowhere to be found. Then she sees a child standing, who was wearing exactly the same dress and mask as Simon had made Thomas in his drawing, by which Laura thinks that this is Thomas. When Laura started removing his mask, the child pushed him and put him in the bathroom. Then when the child closed the door to lock him, Laura's hand came in the middle. She starts suffering in pain. Hearing her voice, her husband immediately came there. He opens the door and takes Laura out. Simon was still nowhere to be found. Everyone started looking for him. Laura also looks for him in every small and big room. But when she realized that he is not at home, she went to the seaside to look for him. While passing through the middle of the sea, she starts running towards the cave. But before this, she drowns. At the right time, her husband comes and saves her life. After this, Laura was taken to the hospital, and the police tries to find Simon, for which she also went to the cave. Now Laura's husband comes and tells her that the police did not find Simon in the cave. She says, "How can this be? Because I myself saw him standing outside the cave. That's why I ran." Hearing this, the police doctor standing nearby says that this is just Laura's illusion. She also said that it is possible that some of your relatives or acquaintances have kidnapped Simon. When Laura and her husband heard this, they thought of her as a social worker. Now Laura tells the police doctor that she came to my house to talk about Simon. One night she also came into the house and was limping in the shed. But hearing this, the police doctor said that how can this be? Because there is no social worker by this name. But because Laura really met him, so she started feeling that she has kidnapped Simon, and she was sure that my son would be found near him. Now because Laura's leg was injured, she had to use a wheelchair. Seeing this, her husband tries to handle Laura. He starts comforting her. Then he takes off his chain and gives it to Laura, saying that you wear it, and once Simon is found, I will take it back from you. Now when Laura was sleeping, in the middle of the night, she woke up with a loud voice. This voice was coming from near Simon's room. That's why Laura went to check there immediately. She saw a doll lying on Simon's bed. Now the scene shifts from here and comes after 6 months. And because the police had not been able to find Simon yet, that's why both of them had lost hope that they would ever find Simon. But one day when they were going somewhere, they saw a social worker who was crossing the road and she was holding the baby carriage. Seeing that, both of them had a hope that Simon would definitely be with her. And today our son will be found. Laura calls him to talk to him, but then her boss comes and takes away the social worker. Seeing this, Laura started screaming and screaming. She ran away crying and went near the baby carriage, where she found another doll, which looked exactly like Thomas, with a mask. Now when Laura went for checking the social worker, her husband tells her that she is dead. Now after this incident, the police doctor brings some pictures and reels from the social worker's house, so that she can investigate. And it turns out that the social worker used to work in the same orphanage where Laura used to live as a child. But the house where she is living now, she was telling all these things to Laura. Then she says that there was also a son of the social worker, Thomas, and because his face was distorted, so he always wore a mask to hide his face. And the social worker also kept her child hidden from everyone. Now, the police doctor shows a newspaper to Laura in which it was written about Thomas's disappearance. She says that Laura, when you were adopted as a child, after that some children took Thomas and went to the same cave. After going inside the cave, they took off Thomas's mask and he ran out, because she wanted to see if Thomas would come out without a mask or not. Now those children had gone from there, but Thomas remained inside. Then the high waves of the sea also came there, and that poor man could not come out of there, because there was also water in the cave, and by drowning, he died. On this, Laura says that how can this happen? Because the day Simon disappeared, that day I saw Thomas in my house. On this, the police doctor says that this cannot happen because Thomas is dead. And this is also her illusion. On the same night, when Laura was lying on the bed, then her husband also came and lay down, with whom she started talking. She then remembers the time spent with Simon and completely drowns in it. She also tells these things to her husband. But after some time, when the door opened, her husband came to the room. Laura was afraid to see that if he had just come, then who was with me on the bed? When she removed the sheet and saw there was no one there, she was afraid. She also tells her husband, but both do not understand anything. Now because of these strange things, Laura got very worried, and since it's been 9 months since Simon disappeared, she goes to a professor who's a psychologist. She tells him everything about Simon's disappearance, whatever happened to him, even gives him a piece of Thomas's mask. She got the piece when she had pushed Laura. After hearing all this, the professor tells her to go to a medium, that is to a paranormal investigator, who investigates these strange things, ghosts, and talks to the ghosts to drive them away. The next day, the medium comes to Laura's house with all her preparations. She sits in a dark room, contacts all the spirits of the house, and tries to talk to them, while everyone else was watching the medium through cameras from the other room. Here, the medium comes to a room while checking the orphanage, where she hears the voices of 5 orphan children, who were crying for help from the medium. It felt like she was in a very bad condition. The rest of the people sitting in the other room were also able to hear the voices of the children crying through the audio machine. Now, when the medium asks those children about Simon at the request of the professor, all the power of the machines suddenly goes out. The machines shut down and this process is stopped here. Then when all these people came together, the medium apologizes to Laura that I could not find Simon. She also says that people who are about to die or close to death can see the souls. Listen, Laura was in thought. She thought that Simon was also sick, so maybe because of him, he was able to see those souls, whom he started calling his invisible friends. Heard all this, Laura's husband became angry. He tells all these things to the professor and everybody to leave his house. Then the medium tells Laura that you are a mother and you can find Simon only because of your love for your child. You just have to pay attention to everything and notice the smallest things. Now Laura comes back to the same room where the medium heard the voices of the crying children. Then the window broke and fell on the bench below. When Laura went to check on the bench, she found some dolls lying there and Simon's picture. It feels like these things were also kept here as clothes. Then she remembered about the game. This made Laura understand that now those souls are playing the treasure hunt game with me. Through the clothes, she gets a doorknob. When she checked the whole house, she did not find any door without a knob. Then Laura comes to the shed and checks where she gets the social worker's locket. Then she remembered that she also came here to find something that day. Laura broke open the doors of those small chambers constructed there and came out with the cement bags. But when she opened them, she fainted because 5 of her friends' corpses came out of them with whom Laura used to live in this orphanage. Those were the children who went into the cave along with Thomas and committed all that. Actually, after that day, the social worker wanted to take revenge of her son Thomas's death from those children. She poisoned the food of those children and finally killed them. Then she filled them in these bags and kept them here. And because Laura had opened the orphanage again, the social worker came here to remove these bags so that no one else could know about it. Now Laura tries to explain all this to her husband, but he was not ready to listen. And he talks about leaving this orphanage. On this, Laura takes 2 days to tell him that I will live here alone. After her husband's departure, she starts changing the setting of the whole house. She had also removed the furniture and kept the old one. She gave a similar look to what this orphanage looked 3 years ago. Then she wore the uniform of an orphanage worker and kept food on the dining table, and on chairs also. She was sitting with friends' dolls there. Then she started calling souls of friends by pulling through the doorknob. But when she does not come for a long time, then Laura begins to play a game that she used to play with her friends in this orphanage as a child. When the game is played, the souls of those children arrive there. But when she inquires about Simon, then those children begin running from there to play hide and seek. Laura comes to a small room where lots of things were lying. After checking this room, she finds a secret door there, and that was the door without a knob. As soon as it opened, There was a basement inside, so Laura comes down and starts checking. She finds lots of drawings made by Thomas on the wall. This clearly tells that he once used to reside in this basement. On examining the house, she finds Simon's dead body inside Thomas's clothes. Laura sees this. She woke up. Laura is totally devastated. She seemed to have lost her mind and started sitting next to him crying. She began to repent what she did, because she remembered something. Actually, that day, the boy in the mask, whom Laura thought to be Thomas, was Simon. When Laura refused to go to Thomas's house and slapped Simon, he got angry and came to this basement. Everyone was looking for him, but he was in this basement. The mistake Laura made here was that when she came to see this small room, she never imagined that some secret basement would be there. Here, she neglected the store. By creating big pipes by mistake, she faced a door, that of a basement, through which she herself got blocked there. Poor Simon never could come out from here. And after returning from the hospital, when Laura hears loud noises in the house, it is not someone else's but Simon's who tries to come out of the basement. But due to his mistake, his leg slipped and he fell down the stairs. His neck bone broke and there he died. Now Laura takes Simon's body out of there and brings it to her room. She takes Simon in her lap. She goes to take an overdose of sleeping pills, and that kills her too. That is, she was murdered also. And then we have a glimpse of Laura in the world of souls, where after death, one goes to other world. There, Simon in her lap is sitting, and with him the souls of Thomas and the 5 orphans are present. After that, Simon had requested the secret that he had uncovered in the treasure hunt game from his mother, Laura. The secret is, after his death, Laura should die and come to him soon as well, and she can take care of Simon and the other children. Then all the children's souls come to Laura, and she narrates fables to the children, too, playing like a motherly figure. So, after the burial, there is Laura's husband, and he had gone and buried in front of the orphanage the bodies of Laura, Simon, Thomas, the other children. He had given them a collective burial. He was offering flowers to their grave. And as soon as he arrived at the orphanage, the very same chain was there, hanging on his arm, which he had given Laura. And he says, "When you locate our child, I am coming and take that back from you." At the same time the door on front of open with automatic ways. With look straight, in front getting back that chain of him put smiling faces because Laura could now found the Simon since bringing of that chain proves. While, presently that time of extremely joyful mood comes by of Simon along with Laura as well. And with this, the film ends here.